Welcome to the Living Connected podcast. I'm your host, Mallory Meyer, a multi-six-figure entrepreneur, founder of White Wolf Reiki, and a former corporate HR professional turned polyvagal-informed leadership and neuro coach, Reiki master, educator, and international speaker. In this podcast, we explore the intricate connection between our nervous system and our performance, productivity, and well-being. I'm here to guide organizations, leaders, and founders in enhancing performance, fostering a psychologically safe workplace, and building teams with high retention that thrive. Let's future-proof your business, raise team morale, and prevent burnout. Join me weekly as we tap into discussions around regulating the nervous system, rewiring the mind, and enhancing wealth and success, with a splash of my love for energy healing and magic woven in as well. Here's to choosing to live more connected. Hello, gorgeous souls, and welcome back to the podcast this week. I am so looking forward to sharing with you this beautiful conversation that I had with Sean Hayes. Sean is the founder of More Connection Co. And I'm really excited for you to not only hear more about his journey, but what he is bringing forward in the industry to create deeper connection through the screen and what his device is here to offer. And we really talk about this concept of interbrain synchronization, the importance of harmonizing in a way through equally this device, opportunities to feel more harmony, to feel more connection with our clients, with our loved ones, and really starting to understand. Of course, we tap into co-regulation and having that ability for our own physiology to feel safe. And to equally, if you are a coach, if you are a leader, have that capacity to really pick up the cues that your employee or your client may be navigating through that are going beyond the words. So we tap in, like I mentioned, to so many different facets around social support for neurobiology. And really at the core of this all is the ability to see facial expressions and eye contact as well. And before we dive into that conversation, just a friendly reminder that there is an upcoming new moon Reiki energy healing experience. This is completely free. I'll have the details in the show notes. So if you would like to secure your spot for this upcoming Monday, to be part of this, to move through a very mini clearing for yourself. If you have yet to ever experience Reiki via distance, this is such a gift to give to you, and it is always such a joy to extend to my audience. So I hope to see you there. Otherwise, enjoy this episode and see you again at the end. To hold this space with Sean. Sean is the founder of More Connection Co. And really just grateful to kind of dive into this conversation, both being really passionate about the nervous system, opportunities to which we can connect more intimately, more deeply, and feel safe to have vulnerable conversations, while also just knowing how everything with the online world has been unfolding. Everything's remote these days. So how can we really enhance and leverage that connection piece? So before we dive into a little bit about Sean and his background and really what led him to create and found his beautiful device, which he's going to tap into himself using at this moment. But really just for anyone that is new in my audience, just giving you this background and understanding about having more of the lens from HR and really getting to know how managers, how leaders interact with their team, really seeing the emphasis and the importance of opening up a vulnerable space, opening up that access of communication to really start to allow each employee to thrive without necessarily compromising their well-being. And of course, they need to have that ability to feel safety within their leader and how we can realign our physiology, but also create, if it is a remote workspace, opportunities like this. So Sean, I'll lead it over to you, maybe just to kind of give us a little bit more of a background about who you are and what led you here.
Sure, yeah. So hello, I'm Sean. I founded this company, More Connection Co. I also come from the corporate world. I don't actually remember if we talked about that,
No, I don't
but
think
No, so I originally did industrial operations engineering and went into consulting. And I was not a fan of that, talking about, working environment that is not conducive to, feeling safe and, feelings. I would say, I wouldn't say I felt unsafe there, but I definitely would say I was not thriving there. And, I wasn't doing what what I wanted to do with my life. And because of that, I switched careers and I went into psychology, and I got actually 2 master's degrees in psychology. So I have one master's degree from Queen Mary University, and then Queen Mary University London, and then one from Brunel University London, so that I could get the British Psychological Society certification. And kind of throughout that, my dissertation at Queen Mary was supervised by this woman, this wonderful, amazing woman, Dr. Caroline DiBernardi-Luft, and who introduced me to the concept of interbrain synchronization, which, Mallory is definitely familiar with. But if you're not, essentially, during social interaction and lots of other scenarios, your brain waves actually synchronize with the people that are around you. So, when you're in a cooperative environment, in a collaborative environment, so, they've observed higher levels of interbrain synchronization. When people played Jenga, for example, they observed interbrain synchronization during concerts. During a concert, they actually put EEG machines on people, and I don't know how that actually, the mechanics of that worked, but they found that people's brainwaves synchronized to the music, and that's amazing. But my professor, Dr. Luft, was the person, I believe, who discovered that brainwaves synchronize with eye contact, specifically in the gamma frequency. And then, so where that happens is the temporal and parietal regions of the brain, which are responsible actually for mentalizing functions, like thinking about thinking, empathetic, like the verb of empathy, trying to feel, understand others' feelings. And so it kind of all made sense at this time, where I was working on this interbrain synchronization research for my dissertation, and I was in a long distance relationship at the time, and it was just driving me crazy that we could not make eye contact, and it was so obvious, the closeness that was lost there, that I really wanted to figure out a way to solve that. And I did. This device that I'm using, so I'm actually able to look at Mallory on the screen in front of me, but it looks to you like I'm looking into the camera when I'm doing that. And that's the product that I've made. This is my device, the More Connection Cam that I'm using right now. And the interesting thing is that when 2 people use it, when each person uses it on the call and they're able to look at each other, they're able to make eye contact as if they were face to face. And this actually, we conducted research. It's quite funny. Dr. Caroline DiBernardi-Luft serendipitously moved to Brunel University the same year that I did. Yeah, that happened for real. And it just worked out that way. And we were able to conduct another experiment where we used my devices to have people make, eye contact on video calls. And we compared that to a normal webcam situation, where you're not looking at each other. And we found that there was interbrain synchronization in the gamma frequency as there is in real life. It was to a lesser degree, And that's significant, but that's, you can kind of extrapolate there. You feel more connected. It's more of a natural interaction. And I'm trying to, kind of see all applications that this can help.
Yeah, that was kind of going to lead into my other question. But before I do the interbrain synchronization, like it always makes me, I was connecting with like one of my old best friends, like one of my very, very first best friends from childhood the other week, and he was here in person. And there was a moment where we literally just said in that second the exact same word. And it was like a word that isn't very common, but we looked at each other and laughed. And I was like, there's an interbrain synchronization. Like we're both in this like comfortable, connected frequency of like our brain waves are almost just picking up on the same cues. And really being able to like establish that beauty in the comfortability, that social engagement of it's not just like a stranger where you still kind of feel maybe a little bit of a protection mechanism around you, but having this harmony. And just like you were saying, like with the research, even with concerts, how you can kind of be in that same brain wavelength. The funny thing where we're just like, is this a common thing that we just grew up with? And like, I think the word was like hodgepodge.
Like, hodgepodge?
Yeah.
Okay.
Who says hodgepodge?
And that's that was the word that you said synchronistically.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. That is not, yeah.
So
I haven't heard hodgepodge in years.
What kind of hodgepodge is this?
Oh my God.
But we were in sync, and it was just like really coming back into like this, almost this, to me, an element in this aspect that we didn't necessarily take for granted before social media, but that we have lost and we want to rekindle. And I think that's like such the beauty in what you're bringing to light. And obviously in some ways, I know the dissertation and the certifications that I've kind of stumbled through have been a little different from the polyvagal side of things, but I love how the language is still the same. The emphasis and the goals are still the same in how do we allow ourselves to create greater levels of flexibility and resilience within our nervous system, but more so than anything, come into a place of safety within ourselves to have more connection, to have more engagement with the world around us. So one of the questions that I was going to ask you was obviously like having the device myself, how simplistic it is to equally set up. Like it's not necessarily something that you need bells and whistles for. Like right now, at least within your prototype, it can be really adjustable and something that anyone can take forward as long as you have a laptop and a cell phone. And who really doesn't have that these days? So
I want to also add to that. It's only getting easier to set up.
Yes.
It's only getting easier to set up. The version that I've sent you, that was a past prototype. Since then, so the sides are now adjustable, so it can now fit any size of. If you want to put it on a monitor that's thicker than your laptop, you can do that. We were just talking before. Part of this for me is getting feedback on how to make this the best I can. It's a continual process, a continual design process with this product. So I'm constantly looking to improve it and just get it. And I've worked hard on this. Like I want to get this into people's hands so that they can tell me what they want, because I know this very, in and out. I need somebody else's opinion, so that's, I really appreciate that. Like that's really invaluable. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for the gift of the extension of this opportunity to like leverage it. And that's kind of like that question of, for me, myself, like working with clients, it's been so pivotal to like have that approach and invite this forward for our calls. And I know like you and I had maybe had some background conversation about this previously, and you've experienced it within your relationships, but who is this really designed for? Like, as you were just saying, you want to get this in the hands of people. Is there an ideal client that you have? Is there someone specific, or is it really just for anyone that is really seeking greater connection with those that they communicate with?
Yeah, well, I'm not going to say no to that. It's 100% that. But if there were some target audiences, which certainly there are, I would say I'm really trying to work. So this version that uses this version of the product uses a phone as your smartphone as a web camera, or your laptop, or any video calling app. And then, as you can see, it should be here. So this application called Camo is actually, we're partnered with, and they have a free application that works with any combination of Apple, Android, Windows, so that you can have that connection with your phone as a webcam for your laptop. But getting to your question, the target audience that would benefit the most from technology like this would be people in online therapy, because eye contact is an incredibly important mechanism as a therapist. It's a known therapeutic mechanism. The information that the emotional content that you have from eye contact is it's not able to be you're not able to access that as a practitioner if you're at a distance. And there have been several studies, and there's actually a lot of research about different setups of how what optimal online therapy setup should be. And there was a recent article where people used this same technology with a slightly different setup, and they found that it really did a lot to co-create relationships between people, and people actually got upset in the research study when they took it away, because it felt like so much less personable. So online therapy is definitely one target audience to improve the therapeutic alliance between therapist and patient, so that they can collaboratively work towards the patient's the patient's goals better. And there's lots of research about that, and we're working with therapists actually right now to try and do some initial trials with that. And then also, coaching, there's actually a few leadership coaches that I've spoken to that are very interested in this type of a product, where, it's something that's really not very expensive, and you can, maybe improve the quality of your client relationships. And then also later this year, I'm planning for August, but it may be pushed to September depending on some things. There will be a crowdfunding campaign for this product, and I really want that to be targeted towards everybody, but selfishly, I'm going to push it to people in long distance relationships, because I think they need it. And that's what I would have died for a device like this when I was, back then. It really, I'm really curious. I'm just curious and want to see how people experience this and how they like it. And I really think that it can improve. It most certainly improves the quality of connection that you have. But I'm really interested in the stories that people have. I think that's going to be something very exciting in the future about this.
Yeah, I personally, in how I facilitate and hold space, it's all about reading energy for one, but then also goes beyond the words that we say. The words that we say are just kind of like a little bit of a mask to me. So having the ability to really observe and see the shifts, both from eye contact to physiology to facial expressions, those are the signals that are broadcasting. Is this activating someone? Is someone now kind of moving into more of a threat? Are they feeling the discomfort? Are they disengaging, et cetera, et cetera? So the beauty of having the ability to tap in with, obviously mine's not set up right now, but your accessibility to see me in the way that you are can really signal and allow you to then pivot or shift or lean back in that sense about how do I want to lead this conversation further without necessarily like being trauma sensitive as well in my processes. It's not about like reharming, and we want to be able to repair trauma too.
Mm-hmm.
So I take it from the lens of, in communication and in coaching, there can be a lot of harm if we're not necessarily properly equipped in that observation and that deep knowing about an individual's response to some of the questions and some of the things that we're unraveling.
Absolutely. And just, you made me think of it as, there's there's a research study that I was reading, because, I'm reading all these online therapy research studies. Ruptures in the therapeutic alliance. So when there's some sort of disagreement between the therapist, or, take therapists out of it, in this situation, it's therapist. So let's not take it. I don't know what I'm saying. The relationship between the therapist and the client has been broken by something. It's more difficult to tell that has happened when you're not in person and you're not able to make eye contact. And it's more difficult to repair online. So they did a study where therapists were like with COVID therapists, I believe, and never mind. That's a different study. I'm mixing up my studies now. But it is definitely more difficult to repair therapeutic alliance ruptures in online settings than it is to in-person settings. That's definitely one thing. But the literature is a bit conflicting. Some therapists think that online therapy is, the therapeutic alliance, you can still have a very strong one, whereas there's other studies showing the opposite. So it's really something that is to be discovered. It's not, I'm not here saying like this will fix all of everything. This is just a tool to, introduce eye contact, and, will that, what effect will that have?
And I think it's like that supplementary opportunity to see it as too. Like, it's not here to solve. That is going to like completely eliminate ruptures, but it's here to, again, supplement in the aid of perhaps repair or navigating it. And I'm just coming also from that lens of holding space, whether it's for groups of individuals or one-to-one, and just recognizing through the last 3 years, like we've all kind of go through our own learning curves, and there may not have been some of when I was starting off the best knowing and like pushing people beyond a boundary and finding how can I titrate that boundary a little bit better to not take them completely out into like freeze. And then they're just overwhelmed. They leave the call, and it's just kind of like they're now in a dorsal kind of state.
Yeah. And then you're not there to, help them because they've left.
Yeah, exactly. So then it's also like that actual communication through the ways, at least within the client relationship, still having access to me, but it's just not by camera, but having that accessibility just to like read the energy better, pick up on these cues that, again, our body will always communicate. They don't just say like when you walk into the room, you can feel that energy, read the room of the energy. It's very palpable for a reason within our nervous systems, always communicating first and foremost.
Yeah, that's something, I was not even aware of, really. I mean, I maybe was aware of it, but I didn't know that it was really, measurable, where you can actually, like, your nervous system is having a measurable effect on other people's nervous system, and and it's same for you, and that's always happening.
Yeah.
And that's crazy, but it's true. And you have like, it's really powerful information to know, because it's just valuable information to understand, like, wow, like my internal environment is really affecting what's around me. And that's very significant to, understand and have some awareness about and power over, your internal environment.
Yeah, you hit like it perfectly in like words of like articulating ultimately like the drive and the passion of the work equally of like facilitating right now these resources that are very neuroscience backed to help each individual. Like, we don't need to be just bystanders to our nervous system. And like, as Deb Dana will say, befriend it, and how we go about befriending it. So for, let's say, a leader feeling anxious in their internal environment, feeling that stress, their team doesn't need to feel that palpable sense of it through their like reclamation in that way of like, okay, I can just tap in, I can engage my vagus nerve and really come more into like my parasympathetic and rest and digest. So it's what's fueled me, at least, in like starting this initiative and like giving the focus to individuals of knowing that it's all within you, that you have those keys of resources and toolkits, and equally creating an environment of your own that will help you self-soothe, because we can just kind of dismiss that too in the office.
Self-soothing behavior?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's really, yeah. I think just understanding that, and that you have the power to create your internal environment, and having some tools and techniques to do that for yourself that are healthy and good for your life. I mean, it's been life-changing to understand
that's the thing. Like, there's really no cost that you can put to it when you understand the shifts and the integrations that can happen. And this is just a device that can support that too. So
I hope so.
Let's end with like, just, there's like these two rapid fire kind of questions that was coming to mind for me with you, of like, just fun, simple, like, so one question that just kept on coming up as we were talking was really just like, what does connection mean to you?
It's a great question. Oh, such a good question. What does connection mean? I mean, connection is so significant in my life. I mean, I think that is so significant in my life. I mean, I think that, through making this, and through studying psychology more and understanding more, it's just absolutely insane what can occur with a lack of connection. Like, if you experience feelings of loneliness, it's equivalent to smoking a pack of cigarettes a day. If you, like, in terms of comorbidity, if you are chronically lonely, and that's nuts. Like, your feeling is actually, making it more difficult for you to recover from a physical illness. And so what connection means to me is, it's about well-being. It's about connecting to yourself, and like connecting to self and understanding yourself more. I think it usually comes back to that. Like, connection it's really, I'd say, how I experience, feel like love, yeah, I don't know. Connection is everything to me. I don't know. My company is called More Connection Co. Like, I have to be into that.
Yeah. I don't even know if I shared with you the name of my podcast. Are you aware of it?
I mean, I think I did see, but I don't remember.
It's called Living Connected.
There you go.
So, more connection, living connected, hence
the collaboration was bound to happen.
One last rapid fire question, because as you were speaking, it came up. So you were mentioning like what connection means to you, and you said something along the lines of connection to self, and just like there was the connection to self, but then there was another kind of anecdote that you had shared in the sense of like what that really means. So just from there, what is one thing that you do daily to connect in with yourself?
One thing I do daily to connect with myself would be some form of movement, like exercise or rock climbing or running. Some form of movement, usually every day.
Love it.
And then also cold showers. I don't like those, but they're good for you. Good for yourself. You're definitely not, you're definitely, there's no getting away from that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Cold showers over cold plunges.
Well, I do cold plunge as well, but not every day. Not only once a week about.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Well, just bring in some extra spice there. Getting to know you more as well. So thank you for answering those questions. I think rock climbing. I'm living in the vicinity of like a rock climber's haven here, so I don't rock climb. But if you're ever out in BC, you know where to go. Just reach out.
Absolutely. Yes, 100%.
Well, thank you so much, Sean. Of course, individuals, I'm assuming that over on your LinkedIn, and there's opportunities to connect to understand how to access and find the devise of More Connection Co. Like with that opportunity to bring it forward for their communication. Is that correct? Or is there anywhere else that you want to guide people to find and learn more?
I'd say if you're interested in this, that's great. There's a website, moreconnection.co. And on this website, you can read about the device, see people making eye contact on video call, and also even reserve your own, for £1 or, I think it's like $1.25, or something like this. You can, put your name in and you get a big discount. I think it's around 20%, when we do release it in August or September. And then, if you're still a little hesitant or, you just want to know more, there's also a newsletter that we have. So you can sign up to that as well on the website.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for all the nuggets of wisdom and sharing again this beautiful piece of what you're bringing to the world, and look forward to connecting more with you soon.
Thanks for having me. It was awesome.
So I really hope that this episode was one that gave you some new insight, new opportunities to really reconsider what not only maybe connection means to you, but how you are going to engage and invite that in a deeper sense, whether that is with your employees, your clients, your loved ones. As always, stay regulated. I really appreciate any feedback, any words, any shares that you have with any episode that you tune into of Living Connected. And of course, if you are curious to take things further in either a one-to-one capacity, in a healing capacity, opportunities in which I can come into your organization and lead trainings and workshops to help alleviate stress and enhance communication and productivity. Feel free to explore all those details in the show notes. And like I mentioned in the beginning, we have that gorgeous free Reiki healing experience upcoming this Monday. Sending all my love and talk soon. Let me just take a moment to share something that has truly elevated my mornings and helped me start my day on a greater, calm, focused, even with a punch of veggies note. I've integrated Plant People gummies into my morning routine, and their products have become an essential part of my self care. What I really find sets Plant People apart is their commitment to quality and transparency. It's a natural and plant-based approach to self-care that aligns perfectly with my values. But the greatest part about it is whether it's been a tea, a gummy, or even their spreads, they don't compromise on taste. So who doesn't like treating yourself to a moment of indulgence while nourishing your well-being? And I do have something special for you, the listeners here. Plant People is offering an exclusive discount. You can use the code MALMEYER, and I should say it's mal.meyer at checkout to enjoy 15% off your order. You won't want to miss this opportunity, and you can find those full details in the link in the show notes below.